The Netflix miniseries Adolescence is the first but very brutal warning about what I believe is going to happen over the next few years, which is violence against women will start increasing. And this is based on what's been happening sort of between men and women in Western societies. That's why there are channels like mine, the red pill communities, the men's rights communities in America. And this Netflix series essentially gives us a warning of what to expect. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I know it is a spoiler alert, but I promise you, I just saved you 4 hours of your life. This is probably one of the worst pieces of cinematography I've ever seen. Just awfully done, even though about a very, very important topic. But first, welcome to my live stream from Bangkok, Thailand. First, I want to say my heart goes out to all of the victims and their families who've lost their lives, and there are many other mental health and issues and injuries all throughout Bangkok and definitely Myanmar. I just made a video yesterday from the site of the biggest loss of life here in Bangkok. You can check it out. I moved here to Thailand essentially to get away from modern women, from being a second-class citizen as a man in America. And honestly, my life has never been better. And I know more and more and more men are doing just this. And by the way, before some of you start saying, well, Alex is advocating for, violence against women. Well, first of all, fuck you. You're not smart enough to be part of this conversation if that's what you really think. But I'm just reporting to you what's happening. And somebody has to say it. Somebody has to say it. Kudos to Netflix to put this on, though I have some problems with that as well. I'll talk about it in a second. But my advice to men is obviously violence is never the answer. My advice to Western men has always been the same. It's the opposite of violence. Leave those women alone. Ditch them. Move to other countries. I even have the course that I sell on every video that I make. I tell you about the millionmenproject.com. It's a course for men to help men to get the fuck out of America and other countries, and come and choose the country for yourself, where you want to go, where you think men are more respected, where women still have family values and not all of them are prostitutes like they are in America now. Made a video about that if you want to see what I mean. So let's talk about it. Now, I have to say that the whole series is definitely made not from the position of men. Netflix generally has a very bad track record of essentially canceling men and their specials on their platform simply for being accused of crimes against women that were never proven or not proven yet. I have a big problem with that in general, that a woman can just accuse a man of anything she wants. And we see many, many, many cases of women doing just that, lying about the accusations that they've made. The man loses his career, his well-being, his mental health, and nothing happens to a woman. I literally just made a video about a hockey player who, there in America, that just the same thing happened to him just a couple of years ago. So generally speaking, I have a problem with Netflix, canceling those men almost on purpose. So it's no really surprise that I, had a problem with this sort of a view that that Netflix took in this series. For example, there is a teenage girl, a black teenage girl, is beating the shit out of a teenage boy for no good reason, apparently. And yet in this series, she is presented as a victim, because this is what American and Western societies all are. No matter what women do, they're always presented as victims. They can be beating the shit out of a man. They can be, robbing a man in many different ways. And yet a woman is always a victim, because women, God forbid, would ever take responsibilities for their actions or for their words. That's just not a thing in America anymore. So in this series, it's very clear that the creators of the series had no interest in exploring why this happens. But let me tell you what really happened. And the plot is very simple. A teenage boy who's being bullied for being an incel basically stabs the girl who's bullying him to death with a knife. The end. That's the whole thing. There have been a couple of actual true stories that are very similar to that. And in the series, it is the son of the detective that's in charge of the case that tells his father, saying, just so you know, this is what this is all about. This is about the red pill movement and Andrew Tate and all of that stuff, right? And that's they kind of leave it at that. They give some explanation, but they definitely don't dive into what really is going on. So so I definitely have a problem with that. However, it, and a lot of people who are talking about this in the media is consistently calling the red pill movement men like me, that it is toxic masculinity, that we're misogynist. And I got to tell you, I'm okay. I resent people calling me something that I'm not. Right? And they obviously don't understand what the misogynist really is. And there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. It's just masculinity. The word toxic was put in front of it by women because they do it to anybody who tries to make them take responsibility for their actions and their words. But there is no such thing. As a matter of fact, I'm just about to make a t-shirt that will say toxic masculinity served daily, and I'll wear it proudly, well, maybe on this channel, but also out and about here in Bangkok. So but the more women and simps are calling men that every time a man is trying to speak out for his rights, or trying to call women on their bullshit, or trying to sound an alarm on women accusing men with absolutely no evidence, that all of that is called misogyny. Just because everybody wants men to shut up. TikTok is quite brutal, and I'm making a video about it, and I know some people are preparing a lawsuit. TikTok and some other Chinese apps are on purpose trying to go after channels like mine, and definitely much bigger channels, and shut us down, because it is there are other reasons for that, and I'll talk about it in that video separately because I don't want to go out on a tangent. So but calling men that, and bullying men, which women do all the time, and the way women treat men in society, in dating, ghosting is one of the most disrespectful things that I've seen women do to men just in a dating world. It is going to lead some men to such extremes that they will start getting angry enough to start committing these crimes, which are horrible. And in no way I condone them, but my job is to tell you that that's what's coming. And the thing is, a lot of people don't even understand this. They don't understand the red pill community. Even my friends who are good men and women who are smart, don't understand what I'm talking about. They don't understand I've made a video about top 10 anti-men laws in America, but I don't think any of my friends who kind of call me out on this and telling me how I hate women and all that stuff, but they don't want to watch them because, then they would have to agree with me, and their universe all of a sudden doesn't make sense, which it shouldn't. That universe doesn't make sense anymore. However, when women, for example, ghost them, and let's just a very simple, let's look at a very simple situation that happens to all men. Ghosting, right? A man spends a lot of his time looking for a girl online, finally matches with her, starts a conversation, puts some effort into it, gets his hopes up, and all of a sudden she stops talking to him, right? That's quite disrespectful. Or even worse, they actually end up agreeing on a date. The guy shows up, the girl doesn't show up. And I know women are going to say, well, it happens to us too. Well, it happens to you because you've started this culture, and men are now kind of giving it back. And we do have some shitty men here and there, but it's definitely was pioneered by women. So you can't complain when you're getting a taste of your own medicine. But, sooner or later, some men will start taking this very personally, especially if they haven't been having sex in a long time, if they haven't been able to get a girl, and if they're being made fun of and bullied by very same women online. they're going to take matters in their own hands. I mean, I some men will trace those women down who ghosted them, who stood them up, and and this Netflix series is no longer going to be a Netflix drama. It's going to be documentaries about these cases. And I think, obviously I want to know, and I'm sure you want to know, what should we do about this? Well, what's happening between men and women in the Western society is unsustainable. Both sexes are going to be happy. And don't get me wrong, I don't even blame women for their shitty behavior. I don't even blame women for taking men's rights away and adding up to their rights. I don't blame women really for, taking more and more advantage of men in Western cultures. I blame men, because not only men have allowed that, there are plenty of men who, one, don't even understand what's happening. I mean, I've explained this to many men who, have not been red pilled, and they just still don't see it. They just don't see it, and they continue to simp. They continue saying, "Yes, we need to advance women's rights." What are you talking about, Alex? When we're talking about men's rights, they are the first apologists for the female behavior right now, especially when it comes to dating. So, there's a lot of things to still wake up men to, because, it is such early stages. But a lot of these men who unfortunately will be committing these crimes don't even know what's happening either. They're just going to be angry. They're just going to be angry at women in general. They are going to be angry at these women in particular. And, and they will take all of their anger out on one girl who will be the cherry on top, the last straw, right? And this is what is going to be happening. I'm afraid. I'm afraid very much so for this. So, I see a big problem with this. On one hand, I absolutely will continue to advocate for the rights of men in America. I will continue, advise men to absolutely ditch modern women, not talk to them, not engage with them, not date them, not fuck them, but just leave them alone. If a lot of men in America are already doing that, they basically essentially saying, I'd rather stay single, I'd rather be, incel or whatever you want to call me, than deal with women. And some men like myself are just basically getting the fuck out of America. And, again, if you go to the millionmenproject.com, that's where I outline everything that you need to know how to do that, because it is the best bet that American and Western men have. You can either simp like little bitches, and you're just going to be little pet dogs of these women, like most American men are now. Two, you can what's called men going their own ways, which is just stop interacting with women, at least definitely on the romantic level and sexual level, though some still prefer to hire professionals to satisfy the most important need. And three, men like me just getting the fuck out and enjoying the cultures that still respect men, where there's still gender roles. Because I was just at the site of the collapsed building here in Bangkok, and there are still some possibly survivors underneath that rubble. And guess who is working day and night, digging through those rubbles? Mainly men. And this society recognizes that. Only in America, men are maintaining the infrastructure, building everything, protecting women, whether from with local law enforcement and our military, and women have absolutely no respect for men. I've made multiple videos where in a media, especially The View, for example, just bluntly insult men and tell everybody that men are useless as they sit in comfort of and live their easy lives at the pleasure of men. I believe this is the only way to go. But, this is a very, very much a stern warning. This is a very first, I have not seen this before. I've been thinking about this, and I wasn't really sure how I can make a video about it without sort of any hardcore data, because this is my hunch. But the fact that now, Netflix has this series and a lot of people are talking about it, which is great. This is why I decided I'm gonna make this video, because it is very, 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 very important. It is absolutely what I believe is going to happen, and it's probably happening on some levels already. Maybe people are not digesting it correctly, where they maybe don't fully understand what's happening, but it is definitely something that is a problem. So I will probably make a couple more videos about you know the some of the fallout of this series. It's very popular even here in Thailand. It is dubbed, not closed caption, but actually dubbed, and it's in top 10. I believe it is great that it is this popular, even though I have no idea how people are sitting through this 4 hours of boredom. But it is something that everybody needs to understand, and I hope more and more people are talking about it. More and more of these issues of the red pill movement and the men's rights are being exposed. More and more people understand what kind of shape a lot of men are in the Western countries. I think the first, well, you know what, this could be even a second warning, but the first warning, generally speaking, that men are fed up with all of this is the fact that Donald Trump won. And partially it was because a lot of men voted for him specifically because, for example, and I have multiple videos about this, Kamala Harris was laughing off a question about are there any laws that control men's bodies and tell men what to do with their bodies, and she laughed it off. But there is one, and if you don't know what it is, go and watch my video, and it's actually top 10 anti-men laws, including this one. Or you can just ask any Ukrainian men about what it is. They might be a little bit busy. But you can also ask Ukrainian women who are sipping tea with their host families and new boyfriends in Poland, Sweden, and many other nice places where there is no war. So unfortunately, I know this is probably not the last time I'm going to be making a video like this. And unfortunately, a lot of times it will probably be based on true stories, which is absolutely horrific. But this is a first warning. Something has to be done about it. Men and women need to come together, realize what's happening, realize that this is not sustainable, and change both of their behaviors. But at the end of the day, it is men who need to start holding women accountable. It is men who need to start electing government officials who will reverse a lot of anti-men laws. It is men who need to be in charge of corporations, and not simp men, real men who would stop all the bullshit where a woman can just go to HR and have a man fired just because she wants to and there are no evidence. We need laws that protect men from that. If a woman lies about accusations that she's making, very well knowing that it's going to end man's career and maybe even in some cases his life, has to go to prison with a minimum sentence. So all of this needs to be digested, but first it needs to be brought up to the surface because a lot of people are not aware. So kudos to Netflix, as much as I hate Netflix for how they treat men. And again, don't forget, this is not a very pro-men TV series, but it raises a very important question. So make sure to watch it, or if you don't have to, though, maybe like some highlights and clip notes. But let's all start thinking about it because we need to put an end to it before it starts. But my feeling is that just having a conversation with yet another Western woman today who also called me a misogynist because I basically was calling out Western women on their bullshit and telling her, because she lives here in Thailand, that unless she changes her behavior, she will never get married. She will never have a boyfriend, because here we all know what it's like to be with a woman who has respect for a man. We all know what it's like to be with a woman who is submissive and traditional and has family values and not a hoe. So, but in return, as always, she just called me a misogynist. And I got to tell you, you can call me a misogynist. That's fine. I have a thick skin. But some of the younger men, including teenagers, we all know how that goes a lot of times, unfortunately. So this needs to stop. But at the same time, there's much more to it than just what Adolescence, the series, exposed on the surface. So I'm going to go back to my regular scheduled programming, which is for men's rights and against all the feminism and all the bullshit, especially when it comes to dating. Don't forget to check it out. And don't forget to go to the millionmanproject.com if you want to just escape all of this bullshit and be essentially like me, a happy man that doesn't really have or have to deal with modern women. And it feels fucking great.